Hello, Chalky Chat. It's the 4th of April. It's the 4th of April. It's episode 174. Hello. Is everybody ready for Easter? It's been a busy week. Nettie, I can see you there. Hello. Asa, hello, how are you? It's my nephew, I think, in Jordan. Who else have we got? Dolcemente, how are you? I am really good. Been a busy week. Billy's there, Scottish Chocolates. I love that little logo of the coffee, Billy. Very cool. Who else got? Jason's there. Napa Valley, how are you, mate? All doing good, I think. I've some amazing posts this week. Absolutely, truly amazing posts from everybody this week. So, we got people in Brazil. Hello. Janie there down in New Zealand. How are you? I'm good, thank you. Leanne, I can see. I'm all good. Been a busy week. I spent the whole day with Thermopen today filming. So, really interesting. Can I first say thank you for all the lovely birthday messages during the week. I had another 54 spins around the sun this week. So, as my girl said, I'm 18 with 36 more years experience. So yeah, we'll go with that. Hi Alice, I'm good. Good evening, everybody. I got no guests this week. Did everybody enjoy the chat with Louis last week? He's a nice guy. I think we could have chatted for hours, and he had stuff to do. So gotta go. Yeah, it was an hour and a half chat, but yeah, nice. It's nice. I haven't got any guests this week. We have got some guests lined up, so just bear with us, right? I'm going to send some waves and some hellos out. The sun was out today, so I think there's lots of people kind of enjoying garden life at the minute. So certainly here in the UK, it was quite warm. I was driving back earlier and a little bit of sunburn on my elbow. So Stuart up there in Cumbria, how are you? How you doing? Is everybody ready for? Is everybody ready for Easter stuff? I think everybody enjoys Easter because, and I've said this so many times, there's just so much more real estate to paint, right? So it's just kind of like really creative. But Andrew there, Styling Chocolate, is up in Aberdeen, I think. I've seen you for a while. Karen King, how are you? Donosh Bakery, hello. Debbie's there, hi Debbie. Susie Floozy's joined us. She's in Billericay in Essex. I can remember this week where everybody's on. Excited to do chocolate eggs for the first time. Keep it really smart. Tell me what's nice with the chocolate eggs. Tell me what's nice with Easter eggs. Have I got a mould? Can you get a mould? A mould. There's a little bit more space to paint in. And I'll tell you why people like doing the eggs is. One, there's a bit more space to paint with. There's a lot more space, a bit more real estate to get creative, right? The other thing is that generally you shell much thicker, and the thicker the chocolate is, the better it retracts, and you get much more even retraction, so shrinkage. Okay, so what that means is when that's in there, you get much more even shrinkage. So what happens is it comes out much shinier than normal because the shell's a little bit thicker. So with the eggs, yeah, you paint, there's lots of space, you can do lots and lots of painting, you can get really creative, and it's much more visual. Generally though, we will shell with a 3-drop chocolate and make the shells much thicker. And again, if you're layering them with, if you're doing a layer of chocolate, so a shell of chocolate and then putting the caramel down and then putting chocolate over the top, it's a really thick layer, it retracts much more evenly, therefore it's much shinier. So everybody likes the Easter egg. So I worked many years in Saudi Arabia in a popular chocolate shop, now working in Dubai. Very nice, very nice. I'm just going to scroll back 1 second. Simon there, Woodrow Chocolates. Simon does some amazing painting, actually. Simon does some absolutely amazing. Simon Woodrow Chocolates. He paints some amazing stuff. That's what I meant. Hello. I understood what you meant, Asa. Ronnie, I can see. At the moment, searching for a job in a new company in a new country. Do you have any jobs? No. Working in the UK, if you don't have a visa, you can't get here. If you don't have a working visa, you can't get here. So we certainly don't have any jobs going. I wouldn't know where to start in helping somebody find jobs. Not my area of expertise at all. I go through an agent. They're normally good. Waiting for people to join. Let me just scroll back one moment. Mo the baker. Katie, I can see. Hi, Katie. It's a real change in Instagram this week. Everything moved round again for me. So I spent the week trying to find everything. What was I doing today? So I was filming with Thermopen today. So we're doing an advert. So we did a couple of filming today. One was seeding, so chocolate tempering using seeding and then going through all those temperatures. It's always fun filming, but it has challenges because there's lots of stop start, so you've got to have some ready, some not ready. Really enjoyed today, really enjoyed today. It's just kind of getting all those details across and the accuracy of using Thermopen and why I choose that and why we need to hit certain temperatures. So there's a lot of kind of details with the science of tempering. And then also we did a video on or another clip, separate segment on tempering coloured cocoa butter. So once we get all that edited and done all the rest of it, that's going to kind of appear on our website. So very interesting day. Karen's saying spray booth fitted in my little chocolate room. Happy days. About to order my first compressor and spray gun. Put the money into the compressor, not so much into the spray gun or airbrush. You don't need an expensive airbrush. It's the compressor that matters. Tiny compressor, tiny work. The one I've got, I think I've had about 5 years now. You need to look after it. There's lots of videos. On maintaining it. There's stuff on our YouTube channel. There's stuff on this page as well. Put the money into the compressor, right? You give me a cheap airbrush and with a good compressor, I can do everything, right? And then an expensive brush doesn't mean it will spray well. It's the compressor that's actually doing the work. The brush is just the vehicle that carries the butter out, right? It's the volume of air behind it, right? And I got asked a question earlier in the week, and it was so they've got a small 2.5 litre compressor, but they can't use an air gun with it, but they can use an airbrush. And when they put an air gun on, and it's to do with the reason air guns in particular don't work on smaller compressors is it's the volume of air available. So with an air gun, the hose is normally a little bit thicker and it empties the air out very quickly. Very often it's single trigger, so when you pull back, the needle comes back gradually and you end up letting a load of air out before you build up the pressure. So you kind of run out of air before you've done enough kind of spraying. Airbrush there's less air going through, but it atomizes much nicer. So it's a little bit of a mix of both. I think air guns on anything less than a kind of 20-30 litre tank, you really be struggling. It's the volume of air behind it that's constant that you need. So it's called air output. You need high air output, right, to use an air gun. Paul is saying, busy updating the website, printing labels, still have Easter eggs to put on bases in a box for tomorrow. Never ends, absolutely never ends. We've had fun and games this week trying to load products back onto the website. Because of the traceability, it's kind of, I don't deal with this, Mrs. So Sassy does, but I believe it's all fully stocked now, and there's a couple of colours that just won't accept the new batch code, so we'll just kind of find another way around that. But I think we are fully stocked now, and all the gold has been redone because that was just selling like crazy. So, which is the mould that you use for the bars, like the one Sophia sends out with her lid gloss. They are, bear with me, these are Martellato, I should say, sorry. And the mould number is MA1920. I like this mould, but it's very difficult to hold on to. I was shelling today with this. So we were recording today, like I nearly dropped this. It's just nowhere to. You end up doing it sideways, and the chocolate rain wasn't as good as it could have been. So yeah, Martellato is MA1920. Don't ask me where I got them from. I do not remember at all. So, Nadi's there. Good evening, and Chocky Chat Crew, of course. So, Grange Chocolates. Hello, hello. Chocolates by C. Hello. I'm good, thank you. I'm really good. Busy week. Birthday boy. Did everybody enjoy the chat with Louis last week? I think that was it went on. It was an hour and a half, but I think it was more than an hour and a half. But we talk a lot, not always about chocolate, mostly just about food, right? So it's yeah, it's always interesting. Always interesting. I think we kept it quite PG as well, actually, which is like nice for me. So it's nice to meet somebody else that's got like the language of a sailor like me, right? David Lilly, how are you, mate? David, I haven't seen you much since you took the big exec chef reins, is it? David, are you all sat at the desk now, just doing budgets and payroll and non-chef things, right? True story. Everybody wants to get to the top until they realise at the top. Isn't that fun? I think when you're a younger chef in the kitchen, you kind of look at the boss and go, oh, I want that job. And when you get that job, you're like, oh, I want to be a commis chef again. Just come into work, be given a list of what I need to do, and get on with it, right? A bit like being self-employed. You go into work and you give yourself a list of all the things that you need to do, and then you have to do them, right? Yeah, Louis got a great attitude. He's just not fazed by industry. He's seen it all come and go, and I think, you know, we talked off camera and he said, I'm just busy doing my own thing. I posted something yesterday and it was the black sheep in the middle of, and I said, you know, you've got to stand out in this world. And I think the best way you can stand out now is just to be yourself, right? And not fake it, right? Just be yourself. Just absolutely stand out doing your own thing, right? I think it's quite unique these days. Yes, book the airbrush course. We are going to give the airbrush course an update. Don't tell me when, because we're just kind of listing out what it is that we want to do, and we'll give it a revamp. And that will include for the people that have already bought it in the last couple of years. Yeah, it's available. It's on the website. Go for it. There's lots of information on that, and I think I look at the analytics of the airbrush, and I see how many people go back to the troubleshooting bit. Which is really, really interesting. And I think if we were going to do a rewrite or a refilm, what I think we will do is just do a little bit more on troubleshooting, not just on the brush and the compressor, but also spray problems in terms of what's happening when the humidity goes up or when the humidity drops, and different temperatures and those kind of bits. So yeah, look out. We're gonna start planning that very shortly. So Coco Lily, there's in Florida. Well, how are you? Temptation Chocolates. That's Kate. And her sister in Ireland, they do some fancy. Have you seen Temptation Chocolate? Go and have a look at their stuff. Absolutely amazing. Coco Lily's in Florida. Fantastic chocolatier. Please don't take the bloopers out of the airbrush class. They're so funny. We left those in. Randy and I filmed that in here, as you know. If anybody's taken the airbrush class, and it's like, we wanted to book a studio, and then we looked at the price. It's like, well, it's just going to drive up. Then we looked at, let's get a videographer, and it was just, that just got really complicated, and it's like, yeah, it's going to take 5 days to film. And what I wanted to do is produce a class where I can get the information across really simply in an easy format that everybody can understand. And the bloopers were mostly Rania and I looking at each other going, what have we got to do next? Or she said, you have to say this, and I go, oh, I forgot. Bit like today, filming the Thermopen today. They're like, James, if you could just say this, and they're like, 3, 2, 1. What am I saying? It's hard work. It is hard work. I will leave some bloopers in. I'm sure there'll be some. There's quite a few that we didn't put in that one, which I wish I had, but why not? We're human, right? I tell you what. Louis said this last week, and he's like, he makes loads of mistakes. I've had some absolute howlers. Things go wrong, and I'm not afraid to say it. Anybody that says they're perfect and nothing goes wrong, yeah, okay. Stuff goes wrong, and I think the lessons are in what goes wrong, right? When you do something right, you stop analysing and you just move on to the next thing. And I think I don't say that you should go looking for mistakes. I think that when mistakes happen, you should just stop and analyse what it is that you did, reach out to somebody for an explanation, so that you know. And bear that in mind next time you start that process. But that I've just described there is what progress is. And progress comes from making mistakes, realizing that, you know, this and this happened. And that's how you get better at something. Always those. Nessie's saying, love the airbrush class, so much valuable information. Yeah, so we're gonna get, it'll be safe format, we're just gonna give it a, you know, bit more of an update. So and I think that, you know, certainly when Ronnie and I discussed it, we said we would make that new one available to everybody that's purchased it prior anyway, right? So I think that's fair. So it just needs a little bit of a revamp. How you are? Well, anyway, Coco Lee, are you good? I'm really good. Thank you for the birthday message as well. I said that already. Humbled, especially on Facebook. Some really lovely messages. Really lovely messages. So scroll back a minute. I think I lost a question. I didn't. Styling chocolates. Chocy Chat Crew Thermopen. Oh, some new ones. So all the new colours today. I'm not sure what colour that one is. I think that one's red. So, fantastic company. Had a lovely tour around the factory. There's some additional products that they make that I wasn't aware of to do with humidity. So they have some new products that measure humidity in a room, and I'm quite interested in those. So I'm going to have a bit more of a chat. There's only so much I can say. Certainly, we are in talks with the research and development team. I've said for a long time that I wanted something on the end of here. When we were tempering the cocoa butter today, I got the tubs here actually. When we were tempering the cocoa butter today, they didn't realise that we're using this as a, like, the probes on these are really strong, okay, and they're good enough to stir with. But I'd like something, a paddle that goes on there, just so we can stir it. So we're going to have a bit more of a chat with them about that, see if we can find something that's specific, I think, for us, for chocolatiers. An incredible brand, but they don't necessarily always know what the end user uses their products for, right? So they just produce products. And I think he said to me, there's like 900 products that they produce beyond just this. So it's electronic temperature instruments. It's colossal. So you have to be careful what I say here, because I'm not going to promise something and under-deliver it. So yeah, we're going to be in talks. But in terms of a Chocy Chat, so sassy one, you'll just have to wait, won't you? I do need to order some more stickers, because I'm getting messages all the time. So I can have a sticker. I need to order them. I'm still waiting on aprons coming in. Mo saying, spill, James. You look like you have something to say. Emma, ES Chocolates, sent me a lovely message earlier in the week. Thank you. Kelly, I think Kelly's touring Europe. Are you in Portugal tonight? Patent Gates. Is that not Kelly? I'm having a bit of a problem with Fetchlin's Edelweiss 34% white chocolate. Even though I temper it really carefully, it gets too thick. Could it have gotten warm at some point? May have got moisture into it. I think when you see chocolate thicken for no reason. So if you have a bag of chocolate and you melt it and it's nice and thin, you only need the tiniest dot of water to go into chocolate to make it seize. Okay, I mean, something we used to do back in the day when we were doing decorations is we would melt chocolate to 35, put in a dot of water and really mix that in, and we could get like almost like a pipeable ganache, but it would set solid. If you're melting a chocolate and it's over thickening as it cools down, not through tempering, I would suggest it's got moisture in it. My advice this time of year, we're in spring, we're about to go, I'm sure for most people, Northern Hemisphere, we're going to go through this rainy phase, rainy April, where the humidity goes up quite significantly. I would get your chocolates out of, I've got one here, excuse me, I'm going to get all my chocolates out of these bags because they are not, it's got a seal on it, but it isn't, because if I squeeze it, the air just comes piling out of it, right? We're going to get this into proper Ziploc bags and get this put into other containers with lids on and just get it very, very well protected. I'm not worried about it melting. I'm not worried about the warmth of it. I'm worried about it taking on any moisture or humidity. All right. So if it's truly not melting down, you might have to put that aside for fillings. It can be okay for ganache, but it'll be a challenge to use for shelling, which is unfortunate. And sometimes I think companies, they chill the bags so much. Like they chill it down so much and in cold storage that when it comes out, if there is a gap or a hole in the bag for whatever reason, it just sucks in lots of moisture, right? So, and I see this in warmer climates, I'm talking about the Middle East, where by the time they get the bag, it's had so much moisture go in and out, up and down, it's virtually not usable, right? So, Age, you there? A plus truffles, how are you? I've spoken to you for ages. Love my thermopen. I love all my thermopens. I said to them today, and I want to make this all about thermopen, but like I was there filming today. Well, you know, when you meet the owner and you meet the sales managers and you meet all these people, and when I say, you know, I said this, you've heard me say this over and over and over again. We've got some very, very clever equipment, but I kind of can't really do much without that. That's probably the most important thing that I own in terms of, as I was explaining seeding today, or cocoa butter tempering. 0.1, 0.2 of a degree out is the difference between it working and not, right? You know, that's how accurate we need to be, I think, in chocolate. So, is it worth, Mo saying, is it worth a chocolate cake and lemon? Yeah, everything's worth that. You have to hold out because we got there's the Chocky Chat So Sassy Thermopen. We need to talk about that yet. So I only got back a couple of hours ago. So, and it's schnitzel night, so I got in and we had to do that, right? Friday's schnitzel night, if you know what schnitzels are. The customer service for Thermopen is superb. They replaced my 9-year-old one for a new model and very reduced price, excellent company and product. I was talking to them about that today, and I said, like, you know, do you get the, because they barely get any feedback. They barely get any feedback, and I stood in front of quite senior people today and owners and said, your level of customer care is what everybody shouts, not just the product and how amazing they are, but people send in, you know, if it's not working. I looked at all the process today where they test everything, and they are truly handmade. They are truly handmade. A lovely family company, and you know, I was telling them the feedback, and they're like, well, we barely, you know, people send it in, we stand by our product, they send it in, if we find fault with it, we will replace it or repair it and send a new one out, normally in a case and all the rest of it. And I think it's incredible. I think, you know, great company, really family feel to it as well, and I like that. So happy belated birthday. Didn't get a chance to message you. Had a nice day. I was spoiled rotten by these 4 lovely girls here, right? I got sent 3 big bottles. Susan Roberts sent me 3 big bottles of Lucasade. Not Lucasade, Ribena. For anybody that knows me, it's not wine, it's Ribena, it's blackcurrant. It's been my drink of choice since I can remember. We always have a little bit of a panic in the house when I run out, right? So, yeah, I do have a weakness for cakes and biscuits. What can I say, right? You know, do you know what we had this week? Double deckers. Do you know the chocolate bar? The people in the UK, you know what double deckers are? I need to try and get that into a bonbon because it's nougat and crispies, right, and crunchy, and the advert used to be crunchy chewy. I'm going to get that in a bonbon. I have to get that in a bonbon, right? So yeah, watch this space. It's probably going to work better in a bar, right? If you could bottle the scent from the butters and apply it to an air freshener, game changer. Do you know, I get sent videos of people just sat at their desk. There is, I'm not going to name names. Jason's one. He walks around just. Jason's Ethan Bradley chocolates. Jason just walks around smelling the cocoa butter. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. God, my fridge is clunky, isn't it? Yeah, they're nice. When I opened the bottle today, when I opened the yellow, it's this one here. So there was lots of shots of me going in and out of a microwave shaking this, and it was, a pair of gloves on and hands are all smashed up from boxes. And when I brought that out and I opened it and poured it, all the people that in the room was like, oh, that smells really nice. Yeah, that's what we wanted it to do. We wanted it to smell nice. We wanted it to taste nice. We wanted it to be the right fluidity. We wanted it to be able to paint an airbrush with. We wanted it to be able to be fully bright and loaded with colour so that you maybe would use less. It does what it says on the can, right? For everybody that supports us with using these colours, we design them, every single stage we had a think and a real thought behind what is it that we're trying to achieve. Do we just want to throw cheap butter in a bottle with minimum colours, or let's do the other end of the spectrum? So in terms of profitability, really difficult, and I suppose bigger brands can make much more money, but actually, do you know what, pound for pound, like for like, I think you're probably getting a much better deal. So you don't need to turn it into a candle, just take the top off and leave it nearby. Honestly, when I tipped that out into this today, everybody's like, it smells like chocolate's gone off. A big bag of chocolate's been opened. It's like, no, it's just the colours. Just incredible butter. Brecon chocolates, I'm good, thank you. Schnitzel night brings back memories. Girls love schnitzel night. Trying to get gritty chocolate smooth out, I overheated it to 101 and caramelised it. However, if I temper again, do you think it's okay to use the shells? Yeah. Do you know, I saw that post. Firstly, I think that's absolutely incredible to do that in a microwave, because basically what you've made is caramelised white chocolate. Slightly different process to the chocolate gold. So you'd have browned the milk powder in it as opposed to the sugar. You'll have browned the sugar in there. What I would do is I would melt that back down. I'd get a stick blender in it. I call it a stick blender. Everybody calls it an immersion. I don't know. It's a stick. It's a stick that blends, right? So I'll put complicated words on it. If you get that melted down again, if that's a little bit grainy, consider maybe per kilo, 20-30 grams of cocoa butter in there, and I'd give that a really good blend, and it will come out nice and smooth again. The graininess is the casein. The graininess is the casein in the milk that's all clumped together, and what you need to do is just mechanically break that down a little bit more. I've got to say, Leanne, when I saw that post, I was like, that is really clever. Replicating that again could be dangerous, because if you go too far in the microwave, it ends up burnt. It's got a really tainted flavour to it. So, but I looked at the colour of it, and it's like, it looks like Zephyr, doesn't it? It looks like Zephyr chocolate. Very clever. I hope you documented how many seconds that you gave that, so you can do that again, right? But yeah, give it a stick blend, and it'll probably smooth out, right? And it's still good for shells, of course. If you get grainy chocolate, just give it a stick blend. When we turn chocolate out to the silicone mats and we scrape it all back into the bowl and we rewarm it, what we'll do is we'll scrape everything down back into the bowl, and I'll give it a quick stick blend, and then just pour it back into a clean bowl. And it's like I've got brand spanking new chocolate again, and we'll just add the silk and we'll retemper it, get it to the right temperature and shell again, right? Just a little bit of mechanical help. Thank you, Nadia. I wasn't going to name names, and then I named Jason at Ethan Bradley Chocolates. Yeah, he walks around smelling those, so whatever works, right? I know that when I'm spraying, and it kind of gets all over you, and sometimes you're up at the shops and you stand in the queue and somebody's like, I can smell vanilla, it's really strong, and I'm like, that's me. But normally I'm covered in glitter and everything else, right? And I've got like hands every colour, so I know that when people come and visit, I think my brother came and visited and he's like, do you ever get used to the smell? I'm like, no, you know, particularly if I'm working doing classes in here, it smells lovely everywhere. David's asking, here's a very interesting question. Thoughts on thermopen versus laser thermometer splits the pastry team when it comes to conversation. Lasers are good for solid. Thermopens are good for liquids. You cannot get a registered accurate reading with a laser when you try and take the temperature of a liquid. So if you want to take the temperature of the floor of the fridge, absolutely ideal. If you want to do the surface, have I got one here near enough? Let me have a look. Yeah, I have this, and we do this when we do the hands-on class. We do this as a demo. To show the difference between that laser is going to point straight through that, and it's going to take the temperature of the floor. Okay, because you can see that on my jacket, right? It will go straight through. Okay, and that's telling me it's 22 degrees, 17 degrees. Okay, if I put a brand new, let me get a cloth to wipe that one down. That's saying it's 22. And that one's saying it's 17. So 22 versus 17, that's quite a difference, isn't it? I'll see if I can hold this one. It's not having it. 21.3, you'll have to take it. Yeah, 21.3. What it's doing is taking the temperature of the table. Depending on how far you are away with a laser, it can change by kind of 0.3, 0.6 of a degree, which in chocolate is gigantic. That is a huge step. So lasers have their use. If you want to, if you want to point it on a piping bag to see what temperature that is, if you want to put it into a bowl that's got a more solid product in there, the second you try and do a liquid, the laser reflects, and it reflects in the wrong way. So you end up either reading, if it's a clear liquid, the bottom of the bowl, temperature of the bowl, rather than the product that's in it. Put a laser over a pan of boiling water and you will be able to see the difference versus a probe, right? So a thermopen probe. It even tells you on the side of here, so that little graph on the side there says there is a fluctuation of 1.6 degrees at 12 inches, 36 inches and 50 inches. At 50 inches, you'd expect to be 1.7 degree out. 1.7 degrees is massive when it comes to patisserie and particularly chocolate. So lasers have their use for solid fridge temps. In terms of accuracy, and I think the difference with this, they showed me how this works today, so I'm not going to give their secret away. I can get the temperature just of the palm of my hand, right? And no others can do that. And then also, if I submerge the whole thing, and I can get very, very, very accurate readings, very, very fast readings, and they showed me how this all works today, and the two wires they put in there, and the just endless test after test after test before it gets put together. David, I'd have a look. I mean, I would use a probe thermopen for anything that's a liquid every single time. Occasionally we use a laser. I have one here, but I don't use it very often. It doesn't give me an accurate reading of chocolate, that's for sure. So accidents are good. Always. Jennifer's there. Hello. If anyone's curious, it took 20 minutes to caramelize in the microwave at 15-second intervals. That's a long time, right? What is that? That's 34 goes through the microwave, right? I feel it's like when a sommelier opens a bottle of wine and smells it. I've got to smell it every time. We do the hands-on classes, and we're like, you know, do you want to have a smell of that? And then we start spraying. It's nice. That's what we designed it to do. We want something, you know, as I explained today, we put all this effort into selecting the chocolate, what brand, what variety, what percentage, what region, the flavour notes that we're looking for, and then if we do want to colour them, that's the first layer that they get to see. It's also the first layer they get to taste, so it's kind of got to be nice, right? Or it should be at least, which is what prompted us to start making these, because we had a particular colour that wasn't particularly nice and the girls refused to eat it. And it was, I'd never really thought about it like that, so I think the decision was we need to make something better than that's available in the industry, right? And I think we've done that, so I think we've done that. So I'll just scroll back if I missed the question. Yeah, David, you know, I would say that, like, if you got a situation like that that splits the team on a decision, laser versus the other, go ahead and do the experiments, right, and prove it to them. Laser and probe both have their place. It's just the discipline of knowing when to use one against when to use the other, right? 1200 watt microwave is that's a lot to be like melting chocolate. Turn the temperature down. I put mine, if I'm using a microwave, we put it on a defrost cycle and I just put it on, I just do 888, right? And it comes up with, 9 minutes 40 or something on defrost, and we leave it. I'm kind of happy with that. I know how that one works, and we can put 1.6 kilos in there, and it takes 888 and then 333, and it's melted, and I don't even need to touch it. The chocolate comes out around about 38 degrees. So if I pour that into a new bowl, it's almost at 34. Then we can add silk, and we're away, right? It was, it's interesting today, because I used 811, and there was a thread that was on the Chocy Chat page about how thick these are. So I've got two bags. This one, interestingly today, was not as thick as the other batch. Now I've looked at the codes, and they are different batch codes. The other batch code, it's like a 2-drop chocolate. It's really, 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 really thick. And there's a bit of risk taking this one today, but the girls ate all the Valrhona, so I could take that one. Or there wasn't enough to shell with anyway. The 811 today was quite thin. I didn't have no problem shelling that today. It was really quite fluid. So I don't know. I know people in the southern hemisphere said the batches they've got are absolutely fine, but I guess it happens, right? I don't think they have changed the formula too much. What I do know is you get very different varieties of cocoa butter, and some, at 30 degrees are very, very thin, and some at 30 degrees are almost set. So I'm familiar with that because we do a lot of research we're always looking at cocoa butters to see other products, or we get sent samples to have a look at to see whether, is it something I'd use, has it got the characteristics I want, does it work in the temperature ranges that I'd expect my brand to work within. These are all the tests that we were always kind of doing on the side. I can only assume it was a different grade of cocoa butter, but one bag of the 811's really, really thick. The other bag, absolutely fine, back to kind of normal, right? Yeah, Leanne's saying my 811's like concrete. It's odd, isn't it? I wonder if, I might just put the batch code of this one on and say, like, has anybody else got this one? And what's it like? Because that one today, I picked that one up yesterday at Booker, just because I wanted to take a brand new bag with me today to tempt to seed with, and it was, I was quite surprised. I had some cocoa butter on the side, thinking, I'm probably going to have to thin this down, and it's going to look awkward. But as it turns out, I didn't need to, right? Which is always a good day. So, always a good day. There's lots of new names here. If you've not joined Chocy Chat before, this is your chance to ask a question. Don't be shy. There is no such thing as a stupid question. And if anybody says anything about you asking a stupid question, I will jump on them, all right? Because what I've learned in 35, 36 years of working as a chef and leading teams is the person that thinks the question is stupid, there are all other people that are nodding their head thinking, yeah, I was going to ask that, but I was too shy to. Don't be. If you've got a question, you go for it. Another question I got earlier in the week I didn't get a chance to answer was they're trying to spray through a 0.5. A 0.5 needle. There are some, so all the type A colours, so they are the translucent type A colours. They are really easy. They will go through a 0.5 needle, no problem whatsoever. As soon as you go to a type B or type C, you're going to need 0.8 needle. Just because the micron size of what's in there. If we put too much pressure behind it, those ingredients can bulk up a little bit in that reservoir in the airbrush, and then it can kind of clog. And instead of spraying nicely, it stutters. So, you know, a 0.5 I wouldn't limit down. You know, we can do smaller designs, we can do much better detail. Generally speaking though, I'd pick a 0.8 and then I'd just limit that down, right? So for anybody that's done the airbrush class, you'll know what I mean when I say we can limit it down. We will set the pressure for the butter that we've got, then we'll decide how much, because we're in control rather than the airbrush and the compressor doing whatever they want. It's a very different, I think, mindset to it. So, Chocolate Joy, how are you? I'm good, thank you. Everybody's been really quiet tonight. Why is everybody so quiet tonight? Everybody's being shy. What's the best temperature range to try and keep my chocolate room at? Converted garage, thank you. Do you know what, Karen? Honestly, if you a couple of answers to this, all right? And it is that like room temperature is good. Room temperature is between 20 and 22, all right? I'm quite happy to make chocolates 22, 23, 24 degrees, okay? No problems whatsoever. If we get too cold, for the people that've got really strong ACs, what happens is the room gets too cold and the chocolate or the airbrush or the cocoa butter, it's seizing quicker than they can use it. So you kind of don't want to drop below 18 degrees if you can. 18 is just a little bit too cold. It's a little bit too cold. And it's a fine line. If I was airbrushing, 20, 21's absolutely fine. If I'm looking for that, so if I'm airbrushing, 20, 21, absolutely fine, more than enough. If the room is a little bit more than that, we can spray the mould, clean it all off, and we can stand that in the fridge for 20, 30 seconds, and it will just let that colour crystallise, okay? Then you can bring it back to room temperature, and it'd be absolutely fine. Chocolate, again, I would work at I'd definitely work at like the 20, 21 degrees. The difference comes when you want chocolate to retract. 20, 21 degrees isn't cold enough. What you don't want to do is have to turn your AC down. So set your room temperature at 20, 21 because that's comfortable. And also bear in mind that everything in your room is going to be the same temperature. So if your room temperature is 21, that's going to be 21. So if your room temperature is 20, that will be 20. What you can do, and this is, I think, the joy of having a bigger kind of commercial fridge or a bigger fridge with some air circulation, is that, like I did today on the class, we will spray, and the room today was like 22, 23 degrees, right? We painted the colour, we put it in the fridge, chilled it for 30, 40, 50 seconds, and then it set and it will continue to crystallise. And then when we shelled, it was too warm for the chocolate to go dull. All we did was turn a fan on and just get some air blown across the mould, even though the room was 2021. That made that chocolate go dull. And then once the chocolate's gone dull, that crystallization has started happening. Once those have been at room temperature, all we did is drop those in the fridge, and the fridge was at 6 degrees, right, which is a bit colder than I'd normally do. We put them in the fridge for 3 or 4 minutes, and they retracted or shrunk, and then we took them out, and we continued doing what we were doing. So 20, 21, there's no reason to go any colder than that. If you do go colder than that, when you're airbrushing, you're going to find that it sets in there too quickly. You also find that when you're spraying, it's going to solidify all on the side, so that when you go to give it a wipe, it's all still going to be left on the mould. Aim for 2021. It's absolutely more than enough. You know, I have challenged. We've got nets on the windows, but if like I open the windows in the middle of winter and we get the cold air in, plays absolute havoc. Like when I'm spraying and the room drops down to kind of 14, 15 degrees, when we start spraying, we end up spraying velvet all over the moulds, and that's always going to come out dull. Always, doesn't matter what you do. It's just too cold. It's just too cold. Even 14 degrees too cold. So whilst it's nice to work in a cold environment, 2021's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. And if the day's very, very humid, you know, 19, 20 is absolutely fine as well, right? So if it's really, really warm, we do have a mobile. It's a 12,000 BTU air conditioning unit. So we can strap the hose and take the hose out. There's a really long hose on it. It'll take the hose outside. And again, we'll try and chill the room down to kind of 18, 19, and you know, but as soon as somebody opens the door, that's just gone, isn't it, right? So, Leanne's saying, is the batch the same as the lot? Yeah, lot number, batch number would be the same thing. Puppy Loves asking, I see you use a dehydrator to keep cocoa butter warm. I plan to try this. Keeping my colour cocoa at temp is a struggle for me. I don't use it to keep it in temper. I use it to melt the cocoa butters. Once the cocoa butters are melted, so we'll turn it on at 50, 55. All the butters are in small pots. So we'll melt it in the bottle. We'll stand the bottles in there, get them all melted, and then I'll tip out what I think I need into smaller tubs, right? And then we'll turn that dehydrator on so I've got all the colours are melted, and we'll bring them out individually, temper them and use them, and then put that back so it goes back out of temper. We'll start it at like 50, 55 degrees. When I see most of them have kind of started to melt, we'll just turn the temperature down to 40. I don't try and keep it in temper. Here's the thing. If I balance that and I temper it, I've instructed it to start crystallizing. If I continue to hold that and it's at the wrong temperature and those crystals continue to grow, because that's what they're doing, they're linking up, it's just going to get too thick. And then you're going to need to rewarm it, and when you rewarm it, that's the danger when you break those beta crystals, because you damage them with aggressive heat. So the dehydrator is absolutely ideal. We keep the airbrushes in there, we keep the hoses in there, and we have the variety of colours available all the time. And if I need bigger amounts, you know, we'll put bigger bottles in. I'm quite happy to put the lid on really, really tight on one of those and just leave that on its side and get that mostly melted. Then I'll take it out and retemper it. If I need to have some that are ready, the smaller bottles, the little sample bottles, I will just put those straight into the easy temper and let them sit for kind of 24, 48 hours. So, but I don't keep it in temper, not in the slightest. No, we'll balance some of them on top. But if I suspect that they've gone above 33.8, we'll have melted beta crystals, in which case we'll temper them again. So, recommendations of brands of compressor to seal leak. Right, so I like Sparmax. The reason I like Sparmax is you can get the spares. You can get the spares for them here. Iwata is a sister company, right? But it's getting the spares. I like the Sparmax. I like the suitcase ones. It's small. If I do need to go much bigger than that, we'll drag out the Fuji spray system, which is a very different price point. I like Sparmax. There's not much in it. I think what you're looking for is you need a minimum 2.5 litre tank. The one that I've got's got dual ports, so you can have two airbrushes. But I've never ever used both air hoses or both ports for air hoses. We only ever run one at a time. If we try to run two, somebody demands more air than the other person loses pressure. So you know, I'm not. I think they were aiming at more at the modelling, so you could have two different brushes, and you pick one up and pick the other up, but they don't have to temper. It's that they're paraffin or alcohol based, so that they're always kind of ready to go. I like Sparmax. I like the simplicity of Sparmax, and also you can get the spares for them, right? And that matters. So. There was a question. Mo, if you're entering cakes, I'm quite happy to do tasters. I'm busy, but I can. I'm not. I'm not so busy that I can't test cakes or try stuff. I will always make time for Chocy Chat people. It's just how I roll, right? Chocy Chat crew is a thing. It's me trying to get free cake. I had an epic fail this week. The sun shone through the first time in my new kitchen. All my moulds lined up after spraying. Oh no. By 8 AM the sun was melting the cocoa butter. I lost at least 4 of each. Been there. Tell you what I had a clock on the wall here, and it was like a mirrored one. And what happened is, as the sun was setting and it went across that way, it hit the mirrored bit and it shined onto here, and it literally melted right through the middle. And I looked at the mould and it's like, how's that happened? I didn't notice until the next day, and literally, as it hit kind of 5 o'clock, I just watched this huge dot go across the table, and it was huge. There's a dot like that go right across the table, right across all the mould. So I think it's called living and learning. I hope that you sentence enhance, Paula. I would have. If that happened to Louis, he'd have just started swearing, but I sentence enhance, right? So I'm always so confident when explaining the coloured cocoa butters to potential customers. It's a big selling point for me. I tell the So Sassy story to people and they love it. Thank you. I'm humble. I see all this. Somebody, Ants, who is in this confiserie patisserie. He's in Estonia, and he's won a load of awards. And he sent me a message earlier with all these certificates that they've won for their products, and said, "Look what your amazing cocoa butters have done." And I'm truly humbled. But it was all his work. I just make, but like our sole focus is just on making an amazing product. I was asked the question today, are you making lots of money? At no point is our focus, I think Rania and I are quite united on this, our sole focus is on making an amazing product. That's it. We don't chase money. I don't, the thing that I did with Thermopen today, it's not a paid, they like me, I like them, we did a deal, they're going to do a video for me, I did a shoot for them. It's not always about money, it's about us lining ourselves up with amazing companies. And I think that when I see amazing chocolatiers using our products that I made, and I'm still humbled when I see the posts, it's still very surreal for me. And it's still very, very surreal for me to see, when I see a bottle in a video and it's like, I made that, it's still a pinch point, right? I just wish everybody the best, and I just hope everybody's doing amazing in their businesses, and it's difficult. And if we've helped because you've chosen our brand over another, sincerely thank you. But we're still very, I am truly humbled when I see stuff in videos and I see, people message me and say, we won all these awards and it was using your chocolates, and it wasn't my work. You did the hard work. We were a tiny little cog in that, right? But that's the humble. But we're enjoying what we're doing. Like I said, I was asked that question today. It must be really profitable, and I'm like, the focus. That is not the focus at all. That's not the focus, and it never ever will be. The focus is making an amazing product and helping chocolatiers, right? I said this to Louis last week. I've said this to many guests, that the chat that I had with Kerry at Easy Temper, who we've done some adverts with, right, as well, and it's like they're not paid. I just think they're fantastic brands that I know, like Easy Temper. Lots of people have bought them, and I've got no invested interest in selling that. I just recognise that it's an amazing piece of machinery that will help chocolatiers, and it's a game changer. These aren't cheap by any means, but they are without a doubt the best on the planet, and it's the difference between having amazing shiny bonbons and using the right technique and temperature, or buying an inferior one and then not really working. And I think it's the same with this, right? we go through all these checks just to make sure that every single item that goes in every single bottle is the best it could absolutely be, without question. So I'm always humble. It's still a strange feeling when I see videos and stuff, and it's like, well, I made that. I could probably tell you when I made it as well, which is even more, you know, or who it is and when they did the order, and I'm still humbled by all that. So, do you know, Paula, you can get these sheets. I have them on the windows here. They're sheets of like frosted plastic sheets which stick on with static, and it allows maximum light in, but it also diffuses any light coming through. So I wouldn't look at blinds so much. If you put blinds up, mark my words, when you start spraying, those blinds will turn every single colour you can imagine. Whereas if you get these plastic sheets, we pull them off as part of our cleaning schedule. We pull them off every 6 months and just replace the whole lot again. But it means I get maximum light, but it diffuses any sunlight that does come in as well. I wouldn't go for blinds, definitely not. And they'll be a nightmare to clean, right? When you cap, do you scrape or push or pull? I want to say it depends on the mould, right? With these ones, look, Sarah painted these. She's going to finish these this week. Oh, let me show you these, look. They come in here and paint when they want, and I just think that's quite cool. Capping, if you've got a deeper mould and a dome, you can go either way, totally up to you. I find that when I scrape that way, I get little tail marks on that up edge. And then also when I scrape that way, it always seems to drip down this bottom piece here. Okay, I don't cap when you're up. When you're capping, put it on a flat table. Put it on a flat table and scrape, and then give it a little tap, and you'll get level caps. If you try and cap holding it in the air, chocolate runs downhill, and all your mould, all your caps will have a slant in it, right? I'm not a fan of doing it that way. However, with the domes I've got, we will go that way, okay, slowly, because if I go that way, what happens is when you hit that leading edge, it flips up, and then you just cut all of them in half, and then you throw the mould in the air, you go pot of tea, you go sit in the garden and say, right, I don't want to be a chocolatier anymore. You can do either way, whatever's comfortable with you, whatever you are comfortable with. There is no right or wrong way. What I would say is you want to be capping with 33-degree tempered chocolate at 33 degrees, so it's nice and fluid. And it's a quick process. Run that bead of chocolate, whether you scrape that way or that way is totally up to you. What you want to do is go fast, so that if you go slow, it all ends up down the side of here, and then you've got a mould to clean, which you didn't need to clean, right? So, totally up to you. There's no right or wrong way. There's no one way better than the other. I dare say it does depend on the type of scraper you've got, but we have many, and I don't see a difference. Did you get... Paul, you might have invented a new design thing there. I know that, actually, what we did, I might do a video of this one, show everybody. You know when you get a toothbrush and you flick you do all the different colours. So what we did is we did it lots of multi-colours, okay? So we had lots of multi-colours, really, really fine mist splats on it, okay? And then what we did is we warmed the sponge, okay? I warmed the sponge with a hairdryer, and we just gave it a little twist in there. And instead of them being tiny little dots, what they were tiny little streaks, and that was quite nice. Took ages, maybe not one to do for volume, right? If you're in a hurry, I don't do that one, but it was nice. What was that? I put my moulds in my chocolate melter once. I learned a lesson quickly. Happy days, we've all been there. Ned there at N2 Sweet Labs has a lovely article that he had today. Ned, he's got these, he's doing versions of the Dubai bar, I think, but they're like this one. They're like this shape, but they're much, much longer. They're probably the whole length of that. It's a really, really nice mould, that. Really, really like that mould, so. Yeah, you gotta love the weather, isn't it? When it's raining, we're all complaining. When it's cold, we're like, chocolatiers, we're like, yeah, it's cold, I can do some work. And then when the sun comes out, we're like, hate it, right? Thank you, Lily. Yeah, that are you making money question. Let me tell you something. You know what? I've got lots of friends that are very, very successful, and absolutely none of them chase money. They chase the process and the product. I've got some amazing friends with multiple businesses, and their focus is not making money. They know they're profitable. They know what their margins are. They know what their percentages are. However, their focus is solely on making an amazing product, because I think what you'll find is that the money follows. Sadly, with the invention of social media and there is a generation, I would say, that think you can kind of just become a millionaire overnight. I think if you had a truck with many, many millionaires, they will tell you they weren't chasing money, they were chasing the ability to create an amazing product. So whether that was a service, whether that was a physical product, or whatever, one follows the other. And it's I think there was a quote that I read years ago that said, like, if you chase money, you'll put yourself in a place that's impossible to escape from, or you put yourself in a jail that's impossible to escape from. Make an amazing product, and don't be afraid to charge what you think it's worth, right? I often did this thing where I do the private dinners for a lot of A-list celebs, world recognisable people, and I would have waiting staff, and I'd say to them at the end, right, so what do I owe you? And they were afraid to say, well, I want this much an hour. And it was a kind of lesson to all of them, where they're like, whatever you think. It's like, well, no, we're working for, something that's worth 800 billion. They're paying the bill, so whatever you charge, they will get charged. So what do I owe you? And they'd all come in with minimum pay. None of them had the, audacity to go, right, well, I've been here 5 hours and I want £100 an hour. Because that just would have gone on the bill. Does that make sense? You get the cheeky ones that would next time go, I want 100. It's like, no, you get 50. But don't be afraid to charge what you think you're worth, right? I think that people undervalue themselves massively. And talking of business, like, we'd never lower our price to win a piece of business. It's just no, because it knocks it out for everybody else, right? So, many times, yeah. If you want it cheap, hire a cheap person, and you'll pay twice, right? So. Pom Coco, thank you for your kind answer on my Facebook post earlier today. I'm the one who had issues with colour cocoa butter and cracks. True impression. So it's Eloise, isn't it? Eloise, when I said that, there's a couple of people that have written on there and had a couple of guesses at it. When I see marks, when I see round dots like that, if it's across lots of them, it will be chocolate temperature. What I do see quite often is, like, we have grips on ours, so it makes it a little bit easier. If you're shelling and your fingers are actually on the domes, okay, if you've got warm hands, you will burn a hole, you'll melt a hole through that coloured cocoa butter. And if your hands are particularly warm, when you shell, that will be visible when you turn out your chocolates. What I couldn't see from your photo is whether it was the whole line or not. So Pom Coco, if you send me another picture, or send me a message of what the other issues that are there, because it's hard for me to see, and I'll try and give you a better description of what's happened. Because I know you order our colours. I know that you've done classes and stuff, so I'll see if I can get an answer for you on exactly what's happened. Dolce Mari, hello Chocky Chat crew. Has the time changed already? Yeah, it's gone 9:30. Well, Jamie's there. How you doing, Jamie? Right, it's gone 9:30. Let me scroll forward. Have we got any questions? Have I missed any questions? Okay, so it wasn't the whole line. Looks like to be warm fingers, very possibly. This is why the grips are so nice. I think that, you know, you can shell. I have this conversation regularly. You can pour in there, and it's just keeping your hands off it for as long as you can. Some molds do not lend themselves. Well, this one is impossible because you can't hold it on the edge to fill it, so you have to do it on the table. And when you turn it upside down, there's literally nowhere. You got to hold it like that, and you end up with chocolate all the way down your wrist, which is, I mean, it's nice if you want to lick the chocolate off, but hygienically, yeah, it's probably not ideal. I'm going to go. So I had a long day that started at 7 o'clock this morning. So have a good week, Chocy Chat crew. I will. I might launch the new blue this week. So just watch, because you've got other things that I'm juggling, and I'm so behind on classes. I've got lots to schedule as well. So and lots of hands-on classes next week. So I'm going to try and juggle all of it and get it done this week. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the birthday messages. We're fully stocked now, I think. If I'm missing anything and you're desperate, give me a shout and I'll find a way to get that to you. Or swap a product like for like. We'll get around that way. So have a lovely week. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being amazing people. Chocy Chat crew's a thing, right? Absolutely an amazing group of people around the world. Just be nice to people, especially those closest to you, right? Have an amazing week. I will see you very shortly.